Good morning, America. This is Martha Boneta, your special guest host this morning for the John Fredericks Show. Friends, we have a very special guest up with us next, Sebastian Gorka. Friends, there's a reason why millions of Americans listen to Sebastian Gorka from all across our country, and that's because he supports an America First agenda. He was in the president's administration and is now Salem Radio's host for America First. Please follow him at Seb Gorka. That's at Seb Gorka on Twitter. He's also the author of Why We Fight. You will not be able to stop reading this book. You can get it on Amazon. Sebastian Gorka is a contributor for Sinclair TV. He's a great American patriot. Thank you so much, Seb, for joining us this morning.
My pleasure, Martha. My pleasure.
Now, you were at the White House yesterday for the president's social media summit. And
correct.
I was hoping you could tell us about it. There's so much excitement about it. And, of course, you know, the fake news media want to basically condemn everything our president does, despite the fact that our economy is booming. Unemployment is at an all-time low. We're producing more gas than any other country in the world, oil in the world, and he's delivering on his promises time and time again. Can you tell us about the summit and what was one of the major takeaways for you?
Yes, so the president, I think this may have been one of the most important events in the White House since the beginning of the Trump administration. We were invited, 150 of the most active social media influencers were invited to the White House to meet the president. We had special presentations from Diamond and Silk, Kellyanne Conway, the minority leader of the House, also Dan Crenshaw, and then the president addressed us, and it was amazing. He spoke to us for an hour, took questions, and the message was a very simple one. He told us, he said, we've done the math here at the White House. The 150 people in this room have access to 500 million followers. So we are more powerful than any TV station, any media conglomerate, right, because we can reach more or 500 million people around the world. The mainstream media, the big tech, Google, YouTube, Twitter is trying to censor and deplatform and demonetize conservatives, but we are more powerful than them. And it was a kind of, the message was a little bit biblical. He said, just don't be afraid. Maintain your commitment to the truth and keep doing what you do. And then afterwards, he invited us all into the Rose Garden for the historic press conference with Attorney General Barr on the citizenship question and the census.
Well, yes, and there again, the fake news, the cover of the Philadelphia Tribune basically said, Trump lost on this issue, and he hasn't. He hasn't at all. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to know who is in our country. Wouldn't you agree?
That is the point of a census.
Yes.
And in fact, it's the opposite of losing. It was genius.
Correct.
You have to listen to the words of A.G. Barr, who explained it perfectly, as is his wont. The courts, the Supreme Court brought an incredibly stupid decision, thanks to the Chief Justice who made Obamacare possible as well, and said that, yes, you can ask a question about citizenship, but the way that the Commerce Department justified that request isn't quite right. Well, who cares? If you can ask it, you can ask it. However, the President and Attorney General Barr said including the question at this stage would negate the census because they have to print the forms and it would be challenged again in a lower court. So the President issued an executive order yesterday saying every single department in the government that has a relevant database is now tasked to compile the data on who lives in America legally and illegally, and that will all be compiled as an addition to the census. So at the end of the day, we're probably going to get an even more accurate number than would otherwise have been the case with just the census alone, and it's absolutely legal. So once again, genius.
Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. You know, every single day I'm so grateful to be alive for such a time as this. And you know, the Socialist Democrat Party, and that's what I'm going to call them from now on, they are so unhinged. They you know, they hate America so much that they want to just do everything they can to try and, you know, discredit and destroy this administration. In fact, you even had a reporter at the White House, completely unhinged. I don't even call him a reporter, not even a journalist, just a nutcase, Brian Kareem, screaming at you, right?
Yeah, so this was this is what's going the rounds on social media, and this was the wrap-up for the day, and this is the case study in the fake news industrial complex. So there's a guy called Brian Kareem who says he covers the White House for Playboy, which is like the first question. Why does somebody who writes for Playboy have a hard pass and a membership in the White House and Correspondents Association? Right. In fact, he doesn't. He never writes anything. He's associated with a small newspaper in Maryland, and he's just fake news. Right. And he was annoyed that the guests of the president, myself included, were given seats in the Rose Garden, and the press had to stand outside the back
I love it.
The cordon. He got annoyed. He got angry, and after the president made his statement, he walked back to the Oval Office with the Attorney General, and Karim starts screaming at the president, saying, "Are you going to answer any questions?" Right. And the president keeps on walking. Brian Karim, under his voice, says "effing moron" to the president, and that's when we start reacting. And one of the guests of the president said, "Calm down, Brian, calm down." And then he looks at all of the guests, and the full video is just posted on my timeline at Gorka on Twitter. He stretches out his arms, points to all of us who are there as guests of the president, and says, "You are all demonically possessed." At that point, I've had enough. This guy had abused Sarah Huckabee Sanders verbally for 2.5 years. I stood up and I said to him, "And you think you're a journalist?"
That's right.
At which point he challenges me in the Rose Garden in front of the witnesses. He challenges me to come outside to settle the issue mano a mano.
Wow.
And then I said, "Okay, really? You're in the Rose Garden and you're inviting me for a fight?" And then I went up to him and called him what he is, an absolute punk. And that's Brian Karim, quote unquote, journalist from Playboy.
Well, he wouldn't have a chance against you mano to mano. There's no question about that. But I'm hoping he'll have his credentials revoked. Do you think that's a possibility?
Well, look what happened to Abilio Jim Acosta. I don't know. The weird thing is membership in the White House press corps is not a function of the White House. It's a function of the Correspondents Association. I don't know. Stephanie Grisham is now Sarah Huckabee's replacement. Hopefully they're thinking about this today. But yeah, his behavior has been abusive since the beginning of the administration. Some people think he was drinking yesterday. He did look unkempt, as he always does. But yeah, there are some serious questions about who should be in the press corps and whether they should have some kind of, rules of decorum, because screaming at the president, swearing in the Rose Garden, and inviting physical violence, I'm not sure that's the job of the media.
Yeah, and it's just to see that unhinged behavior. He was screaming, "Go home." Apparently, he's not aware that you are a U.S. citizen, and not only that, but to see that type of just debacle is, you know what it is? It's that they're so unhinged. They're becoming so radicalized. I mean, you've got AOC, who's the face of the Democrat Party. You've got, California, who wants to give free health care, and I'll repeat that, free health care to undocumented immigrants that are here illegally. When they have a homeless crisis problem going on, and we have veterans that would give their lives and die for our nation in need of health care. One of my favorite images was on the front page of the New York Post after the debate that said, who wants to lose an election? And you've got every Democrat candidate raising their hand to give free health care to illegal immigrants. I mean, what say you about this? I mean, this is the collapse of the Democrat Party. I don't see, there's no viable candidate. There's nobody that really speaks for the hearts and minds of the American people. I mean, they've become so radicalized. Is this, where do they go from here?
The president actually mentioned this when he was with us yesterday in the White House. He said he couldn't personally believe it. He was traveling for the G20, and he was going from one meeting with Vladimir Putin to meeting Xi Jinping. And he said he was watching the debate, I guess, on Air Force One. And when they asked the question, would you provide taxpayer-funded medical insurance for illegal aliens, and every single candidate raised their hands, he said, "Stop the DVR, rewind. I need to see that again. That can't be true." Yeah. The radicals have taken over. I mean, look, somebody like John F. Kennedy wouldn't be allowed in the Democrat Party today. Anybody who's strong on national security, who's pro-life, would not be allowed into the Democrat Party. It has been taken over by people who hate America, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, people who are anti-Semites, like Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar, and Nancy Pelosi is losing her grip. There's nobody to rein in the crazies. And it's a sad, sad day when one of the parties in America has become radicalized and extreme like the Democrats have.
Right. And now AOC claims that she's a victim of Pelosi. I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
I mean, who could see that coming, that she would pull the victim card on her own party? It's the civil war inside the Democrat Party has begun. I just don't know if we have enough popcorn, Martha. Really.
I was going to say, grab the popcorn, invest in popcorn. Friends, we are so blessed to have Sebastian Gorka on the show. He is a host of Salem Radio's America First. You have to dial in, or you have to call in and you have to listen to the show. It's unbelievable. He is a contributor to Sinclair TV. He's also the author of Why We Fight. Get your hands on that book from Amazon.com. Sebastian, thank you so much for being on our show. God bless you and all you do.
Thank you. God bless.